everyone.
I can only edit so much out.
Don't mind me. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Tiffany and I give our all to this podcast with curating information, researching platforms, and creating a show with the best up-to-date information we can. We have a vested interest in the growth and health of your business and hope that you feel the same way about us. We've joined Patreon. Become a patron for as little as $5 a month, and you'll gain access to our community, exclusive behind the scenes, speaker access, publicity for your business, webinar discount opportunities, and more. Please support us so that we can continue supporting you. Hello, and welcome to the business behind small business. Whether you're selling or staying, we're here to remind you that just because you own a business doesn't mean you are a business owner. We are your hosts, Sevana Stone and
Tiffany Ko.
and we're going to get down to the nitty gritty.
Man, we're overly caffeinated. That's what's going on right now.
I know I can't stop. We are revealing the dots between startup and success. No one gets to 1 million without getting a little dirty. So there's a lot of business behind small business. So let's get to it. So for so many people, working remotely became the new normal in or after 2020. Before then, many of us were used to sitting in traffic on our way to work, avoiding that one person that always smells like old cheese, celebrating a coworker's birthday with grocery store cake, which isn't always so bad, depends on the grocery store, and making it your life's mission to figure out who keeps eating your turkey sandwich.
Who really likes sheet cake? Yellow cake, sheet cake.
I don't hate it. Sometimes I'm in the mood for it.
Really?
Sometimes. I mean,
it's still an acquired taste to me.
I mean, some people have some really good frosting, but again, got to be in the mood for it. After all of this, you get back into your car, you sit in traffic, and you finally get home to take off those too tight pants you keep saying you're going to buy a bigger size of. Maybe eat less cake. Now, for a lot of us, companies have decided it's probably best to permanently stay remote or mostly remote. And a lot of you feel like you've been kicked off an island, severed from all the things you love and hate about being in an office. No one's Zoom ever really seems to work. You have conversations with your pets.
Can you hear me now? You're on mute.
I know. Could you?
Yeah.
No. Anyway, you have conversations with your pets. That's mostly me. I mean, we have some in-depth conversations. And gossiping about your boss in the break room just isn't the same when you try to do it over text. Yes, the tight pants might not be a problem anymore, but what about the engagement? You feel depressed. The lines of work are now blurred, and you're really starting to resent the boss you've created in your brain because your interactions with said boss are non-existent. However, dun dun dun, what if you are that boss? Let's talk about reconnecting your disconnected team. Before we begin. Yep, I'm still
We
talking.
do this on purpose. We let Sevana talk and get you ready.
Please note our disclaimer. This is available in both our show notes and on our website and should be referred to before and after this podcast. And seen.
Is it my turn?
It is.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to take us back to the basics because I think that disengaged workforce, remote or not, all goes back to very similar reasons of the cause of why they're disengaged. So if we go back to the basics, let's talk about why employees become disengaged. And these are probably reasons you haven't heard of before. They were an issue before there was the pandemic and before we all went remote, and there's still issues now, even with remote teams. It just doesn't change. Of course, leadership, management plays a huge role in this.
It always trickles down.
Oh, it always trickles down. And you think that if you have a remote team, it may trickle down a little bit less, but that is not true. The tone at the top really, really does matter. And oftentimes employees become disengaged because they perceive their heads of the company as incompetent, non-transparent, maybe unfair or just not good at what they're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
So they lose faith essentially in the company's leadership. And oftentimes that'll cause even the best employees to disengage.
Absolutely.
Why? Why would you put in all this effort when the people on top can't seem to even get it together?
Well, I mean, the term quiet quitting became the,
the pandemic term.
Yeah, it became the pandemic term, but
I have some beef with that just in general.
Oh, yeah, you and me both. Yeah. However, I would like to think that existed long before COVID. I think that people,
I think it's a little harder for you to be quiet quitting when you're physically in the office, right? I think that's what it is. But did you hear about quiet cutting?
Yes.
Okay, so we should definitely dive into that at some point too.
Yes,
I have problems with both sides of this whole entire thing. The other thing is, and again, this is whether you're remote or not, is oftentimes employees become disengaged because as a company, you didn't give them clear objectives or job roles, right? How many times, especially a small business, we're all guilty of this, delegation is a skill. It is not. Delegation does not mean you hire somebody, you tell them what to do, and then you just expect them to go do it. And then that is it, right? Without any long-term, short-term goals or objectives or anything like that. And that's a recipe for failure. Yeah.
And that goes back to intercommunication, which I always go back to intercommunication.
One of these shows was going to line up shots. Process, intercommunication. I have to mind you, we're going to be throwing back coffee, right? Let's just shot glasses of coffee.
Intercommunication and process. We'd all be drunk.
We record this way too early to be taking anything further.
But it's true. Yes. I mean, your definition of a role might not be the same as someone else's definition of said role. So writing down roles down roles and responsibilities or making it more clear, this is what I expect of you, would help. But so many people don't do that.
Yeah. And as leaders, as small business owners, as entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call yourself, like this is something you need to learn how to do properly. And don't expect other people to do this well when you can't even do it yourself well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because, we're not control freaks.
No.
All right. So the other thing is also employees, especially remote. I think this kind of compounds it, is especially if they feel very underappreciated and unrecognized for all their efforts that they put into the company. They think their hard work goes unnoticed. It just becomes demoralizing after a while. And eventually they kind of just stop engaging with the company.
Yeah. Yeah. And the bigger the company gets, the more difficult it becomes to engage with your employees.
Yes, unless you strategically put in roles
for
people to do that. But again, that's a very thoughtful and very strategic type of plan that has to be put in place. This does not naturally grow organically in your business.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, that would be how I would say it. So let's kind of talk about what it looks like. So what are the signs of a employee that's disengaged? Because I think you're going to talk about what to do about it if they are disengaged. But first, what are the warning signs, right? So we can start with what an engaged employee looks like, which I think we can all agree with, right? They're very, very involved. They're enthusiastic, so happy, and committed to their work, right? And enthusiastic is good. I was kind of saying that a little bit because, I'm not a morning person, but when somebody's overly enthusiastic in the morning, I'm kind of like, good for you. Oh,
get away from me.
That's a lot, right? But enthusiastic is actually really good. As an employer, I do appreciate it when I see that. They're usually pretty much invested in the company, the mission, and the goals. They get it. They fully embrace it. It's not like they're just kind of parroting it back to you. You can see that they go the extra mile. They take initiative. I love that. And they stay in the company longer, and they're usually more productive, and they tend to advance, right? Because they're always volunteering. They're always stepping up for the job. And then on the flip side of that, I actually learned there's two types of kind of disengagement. There's the not engaged employees, and then there's the actively disengaged employees. Okay. And I was like, well, that's news to me, but I can totally see why this is. So on the disengaged spectrum, let's talk about the not engaged employees. So not engaged usually means that they like their job. They do, right? But there's really no strong emotional connection to their job. To them, a job is just a job. They're not going to suck at their job. They're not going to not do their responsibility, but don't expect them to do more than what their responsibility is, right? And they usually don't show up enthusiastic. They don't take initiative. They just want to do just enough for what they feel like they're paid for. And so I really think about these employees as the clock in, clock out types, right? Even mentally, right? I know nobody really has, well, it depends what industry you're in. You don't have the actual physical clock, but in their mind is 9 in, 5 out. Anything beyond a minute, before or after, not mine.
You paying me overtime?
Exactly. So those are the type that you probably see. And then there's the actively disengaged employees. And for them, they're much more overt about their disengagement. So typically you can tell that the productivity kind of goes down a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. There's decline in that. They're starting to miss deadlines. They're not turning in things on time. They probably don't have a good excuse for not turning in things on time, which we all love. Absenteeism. They're not showing up. They're sick a lot. Not that you can't be sick, but they're sick a lot. I mean, come on, we all know.
Or they don't return late. Or they don't return your messages.
They don't return your messages, even though that you have a fairly good cadence about communication in your company. You send them a message. They may get it back to you today. They may get back to you in 5 hours. They may get back to you tomorrow, regardless of who you are, even if you are the boss. They have a total negative attitude, especially on the Zoom calls and the group calls. They don't really care who's online, but their negativity will be apparent, even on the call. And I guess the good and bad of it is that usually when they're those kind of employees, they tend to kind of disassociate themselves with their coworkers anyways. So they don't really want to buy into the culture. They don't want to be part of the environment. They're just kind of distancing themselves, which remotely is actually easier to do than it is physically, if you're in the office. And then beyond that, it's just lack of commitment, right? Like, they're not cheering on for the team. Not that you need them to be a cheerleader per se, but when somebody's really into the company and what the company is there for versus somebody who is kind of like just mad at the world and shows up mad, like almost like a little bit disgruntled at that point. They want everybody to know it. Those are actively disengaged employees. So, Sevana, you are going to talk about what do you do when you have either one of the disengaged employees, right?
Well, it's really difficult to know if any of these measures are going to work for your team, but there are some ways in which you can reconnect and re-engage your employees and make them feel valued. Also, know that this is not purely for remote companies. This can also be in the case for companies where their employees are out in the field a lot, or perhaps aren't always in one main hub together. Like maybe you have a hybrid situation going on.
Like one of those co-sharing spaces, people come in and work for a day and leave.
Or there are some companies that have decided to come back to the office once or twice a week.
Right. They pick the one day everybody comes in.
Yeah, everybody comes in. Anyway, so one way you can make people feel like they're plugged in is by having a channel to communicate for your organization. It could be Slack, it could be Google Chat, or it could be a social media platform. You could also have newsletters, any way in which your team can ask questions, share their thoughts, or maybe share a fun meme, wish everyone to have a great day, whatever it may be. It's just a way for them to communicate with one another on some type of a platform or a forum. So like if you've got, I don't know if I'm not that.
So you're basically doing like the digital water cooler, like a kitchenette kind of like gathering where they can just talk about random stuff, right? It doesn't have to be business or work. It's just somebody has a birthday. There's, like a new movie out, like something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Or whatever it may be. I mean, we have, I have Google products. So I use Google Chat for my team. And like whenever somebody I come across or somebody else, I started to encourage it by doing it myself. So I started to post
lead by example.
Yeah. So when I first started it quite a few years ago, I actually started it prior to 2020. I was posting like information that they might want to know so that they could share it with their clients, or hey, happy Friday, and here's a funny meme or GIF, whatever you call those things. Anyway, so it's funny. Some people, I'll say GIF and they'll be like, it's GIF.
I'm not gonna get in the middle of that.
Like GIF is peanut butter.
I always say English is not my first language. Don't get mad at me.
Don't get mad at me. English is not my first language.
But I think regardless of the platform you have, right? Whether you do Slack, Teams, everybody has channels these days. So it's just like a more casual channel, it sounds like.
Yeah. Well, I used to have one that was even separated by their role.
Okay.
But then I was like, you know what? I don't want to keep people separated. I just started to like mush it all together, and that works too. So any way in which they can communicate and just not feel alone. You also want to create an opportunity for open conversation and safe discussions. So, encouraging your team to talk to you every time they feel a concern or need help to resolve an issue. This will make them feel like you're still there for them, even if you're not, like physically there with them. Um, if you're going to do this, though, you have to be okay with them being honest and upfront without the fear of being shut down or dismissed. Now, if you are worried that your business is too large or you don't have the right framework in your company for that to be possible, just make sure that the manager, the supervisor, whomever it is that is above them in that department, what have you, is someone that these people can feel encouraged to approach when necessary. They should feel safe to say whatever they need to say, and feel encouraged to share ideas and give feedback. I always say that my company is in constant beta mode. And the need, and to be frank, I'd like to think all companies are in constant beta mode. You should always be learning and improving. And the best way to do that is with the people that are inside of it. And if the people inside of it, depending again on what industry you're in, some industries lend themselves to people who are just not very vocal, right? So if you're in an industry where people aren't usually very vocal, even an anonymous like, what do you call it, Google form or something like that.
Sure.
Hey, how are things going? What are you happy with? What are you not happy with? Kind of thing might even work out too. Whatever it is, just letting them know that they have a voice in the company. If you're presenting them with something to make them feel like they are valued, then there's no reason why they shouldn't give to you as much as you're giving to them.
I think the thought goes a long way, right? Just having that option and presenting the fact you're a company who values the feedback and you're soliciting feedback. I think don't be surprised if some people are a little skeptical of that.
Oh yeah,
because there are other companies that use that as a trap. Right.
True.
So it depends on the person's experience. They may be a little bit more skeptical and might be a little bit harder to draw their feedback, but there's nothing to stop you from going out one-on-one and just saying, hey, I really would like to know how you feel. And I think people really appreciate that. Employees really appreciate when you're asking for their opinion.
And I think that this actually is a good segue to the next point, because mentorship. Mentorship, in my opinion, is one of the best ways to promote good feelings, a good culture, and friendship at work. And to be honest, if you're feeling a little, maybe you came from a company, or maybe someone in your company came from a company that would use it as a trap, your mentor, you could always ask your mentor, hey, I'm new to this company. Does this company do this to figure out who to suss out and and your mentor could hopefully say, oh no, absolutely not. They use this as a way to make the company a better company. So that's the kind of conversation you can have with a mentor. So if you, the company owner, are providing that type of platform, a mentor, an actual person that they can feel that they can be more honest with and can speak more frankly with, then they should have that platform. A buddy system or a mentorship pair, especially one in which you're pairing a new employee with a more experienced one, will give them the opportunity to feel support, have more guidance, create new friendships, and really start to feel comfortable within your company and the community that you're creating. In my company, we start all new employees that way because there might be some questions that a new person has that maybe they just don't feel comfortable asking me or asking one of the other higher ups. Maybe they're not interested in talking to us about it. They don't want to, there's always the stupid question. I don't believe in stupid questions. I think every question is a good question, but maybe the mentorship would be a better way to present an opportunity for them to ask those kinds of questions.
Mm-hmm.
You still want to give them something to look forward to. You don't have an office where you can celebrate people's birthdays or do something fun together unless you go out and go bowling or do something like that. If your company has the ability or capability to do that, like maybe everybody every quarter or every, I don't know, whatever works for you, do it a few times a year. You could go to an escape room or go bowling or I don't know, whatever it is that you guys could collectively decide upon, depending on the size of your company. It just gives everyone an opportunity to actually connect and to get together and to get to know each other outside of work, that you are invested in them, not just during work hours. You're invested in them for the long haul, making them feel special. If your company is a completely remote company and your employees don't live anywhere near each other, you can also provide these kinds of opportunities on a remote basis. Like there are some great games that you can play together that are made specifically for teams and team building that are remote. There's some great ones that I have used in the past that I was really nervous. I was worried that people would be like, this is stupid. But really, it was so much fun and everyone's looking forward to the next one. This again makes them feel special. And honestly, I feel like engagement is coupled with making someone feel special. Lastly, give your team an opportunity to grow. Oftentimes, a remote employee will start to feel static and the work will start to feel redundant, which, comes with that whole disconnected disengagement. If you give them tools and platforms to learn from to help them broaden their skills and therefore broaden their experience, you give them an opportunity to use those brain juices to grow. If your team is hybrid or not everyone is in the office at the same time, you could also do a workshop or have a special guest come in for a luncheon, whatever it is that, excuse me, you can help to make your employees feel or become more educated, more experienced, or more skilled. Ultimately, you're helping them, but in reality, you're also helping yourself because, more skills, more education, more experience is going to create a more sophisticated company that can grow in a very complex world.
Yeah, I think that's where the mentor comes into play. Although I would advise that if you're going to have a mentorship kind of relationship with new hires or people coming in, don't try to avoid the mentor being the same person they report to.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I've seen that happen before, and I was like, well, that doesn't quite give the secondary kind of outlet, a more casual outlet for the employee to express maybe their desires to move ahead, their motivate, like what they want to learn. Sometimes they don't feel comfortable with the person they're working with, or maybe the person they're working for is the problem. They need to have like a secondary like I said, secondary outlet to be able to express that. And you want them to express it because then you can do something about it.
Yeah, which is why I say you don't want it to be a supervisor. You don't want it to be in the management or, whatever the higher ups are. You want it to be somebody who's going to be at the same level. And if you have different departments in your company, maybe somebody in the department that's going to be working in the same kinds of stuff as them. So like in my company, I always have, like if I have a bookkeeper who is getting ready to start on a government contract client, then their mentor will be another bookkeeper who also already has a government contract client. So that way, if there are questions that one has, likely the other one has experienced it and can give solid feedback to them. So when I was researching this, I was pleasantly surprised to find that all the suggestions that I was reading about, or the things that they were suggesting, were things that I already do in my company. So I personally have been working from home since 2003, pretty exclusively. And I mean, even at that time, I think I only had like 1 year between 2008 and 2009 it was between 2008 and 2009 when I worked in an office. But even then I was working in someone's office that was never there. So I was still by myself. Otherwise, I've always worked remotely. I know that it worked really well for me, but I do recognize that that's not always everyone's jam.
No.
So what about for you?
No. Yeah, I'm the complete opposite. I've always worked in offices. Always. Yeah.
And this is something that you and I have talked about over the years, how I don't feel productive. If like going to a coffee shop and working would never work for my brain. I could never do that. I can't concentrate. I also start my day off with music and then I turn the music off because it's starting to become disruptive for me.
Yeah.
But like for you, do you feel like you would become disengaged or disconnected if your company, if you were working for a company or if you owned a company that you decided, you know what, we're all just going to become remote. I don't want to go back into the office. Like, what is your take on it?
No, I don't mind the remote stuff. So when I had a career, I always went into, it was office based positions. But when I had my own company, you know, I had it physically also. But again, that was for a very different purpose, right? I had everybody come into the office because I was hiring more entry level.
Yeah, that's true.
Types of roles and employees, and when you have lesser number of years of experience, it's a little easier for you to get distracted. And I feel like you would onboard a lot quicker if you're immersed with other people in the office, let's just say, right? So I use the physicality of the office to kind of help with the distraction part of it. But honestly, like, you know, for me, I've always been outcome driven and self accountability. So I just think you can do your work for wherever the heck you freaking feel like. I don't really care where you do. As long as you get it done, I don't really care. As long as you're within the company guidelines, like you're not out on public Wi-Fi with confidential client information and talking on the phone with the client about confidential information in the coffee shop. Okay, there's policies and procedures around this. As long as you don't violate that, I don't care like where the work gets done. And I think a lot of that is driven because personally, I am not one person to sit in the office. I like changing my scenery. I can do it sometimes at home. I can do it in a coffee shop. I can do it on an airplane. I can do it in the office, but do not lock me in an office for 40 hours, chained to a desk. Like, I hate being in one place. And so like, I like being on the move, and I recognize that everybody has their own thing. So when I hire, you know, I was looking for really self-aware people who understood how they work, right? Now, again, HR will probably kill me if I say this, right? Most people with lesser experience tend to be a little bit younger on the age spectrum, right?
I mean, that would make sense.
That is kind of how it goes. And when you're younger, because, you know, so I was that age at one time too, I think it's a little harder for you to be aware of who you are and how you work and how you focus. So for me, I was a strong believer. You should be in the office. I started out in the office when I graduated college, got my first job, and I thought it was really great just to be around friends and other people. But for people who have more experience, when they become more self-aware, they can decide, right? So I always try to make sure I understood that people weren't just saying yes to the remote work because they want to do remote work, and they, for the lives of them, can't separate their laundry and dishes from work time. That's all. So
I don't know. Maybe I'm a special unicorn. When I worked in an office, well, I didn't work in an office. I worked in sales, right? Like I worked in a jewelry store for a very long time, 10 years. 10 years. I'm thinking about how old my daughter was when I stopped and started working remotely. So it's in 92, 91. Well, prior to that too, but we're not going to talk about when I was child labor. But regardless, I was not productive at all.
Yeah, I think some people are different. Yeah.
I was not productive. Yeah. I was always looking for a reason to leave to go get a bottle of water, or I have to use the bathroom again. I was constantly looking for ways to change my scenery. Yeah. But once I started working from home, it was like, I became like super focused and super productive.
Yeah, you found your
distractions.
You found your way.
I think. Yeah. Well, we talked about this before. My ADD is like a hyper focus ADD, and if there are distractions around me, I will absolutely be plugging into them. So, and when I was working in a place where there were distractions all over me, all around me, I had a really hard time being productive. But then when I was at home, I didn't have anything around me. I didn't have a choice but to be productive. So, I think it all depends on what your personality is. And then you just start hiring people who have a personality very similar to yours. It's one of the questions that we ask when we're hiring, like, have you worked remotely? What are your thoughts on working remotely? How long have you worked remotely? So for some people it works out. Some people are like, yeah, I do it because it's just, well, it is, the way it is, the way of the world now. And when they think that way, it's like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, yeah, again, at the end of the day, I think there's no right way or wrong way. It's just whatever way you want to build your business and who you want to work with and how you want to communicate with them. I think I was just really I was just flexible about it. I'm just like, as long as you get your work done within the criteria and our policy, that's fine. But like I said, I had policies around because there's certain things I didn't want people to do.
Absolutely.
Right? Like the coffee shop, phone calls, what was the other thing? And this used to drive me wild even before the pandemic is if you want to be at home, that's fine. You want to talk to the client, that's fine. If the client wants a video call, you're getting on a video call. And if you're on a video call, you better look professional on that video
I
call.
have that as well. Blur the background.
Yeah,
you need to look.
You have no excuse, right?
Yeah, you need to be in a well-lit room.
Yeah, at least half up, dress okay, right? Make sure your camera is looking okay. And you've had a year to figure out what your office is going to look like. It better not look like I'm staring into your unmade bed.
Yes.
Get a green screen at that point. And that's really it, right? It's like those things, like you just need to print yourself and then you can do it from wherever. As long as you fit within those guidelines.
Yep.
So,
well, and again, if you have shown respect for them, I think that they will show respect for you. And, I've been working remotely long enough that, and also it's in my personality to make people feel special. Like I'm a caterer. What can I do to help you kind of person. So that uniqueness of my personality lends me to create situations or platforms for everyone who works for me to feel special. All of the things that I said to make people feel connected are all of the things, interestingly enough, like I didn't write it from my own experience. I was like doing a bunch of research and I was like, oh, these are all of the things that I already do, but I'm not going to say what it is I do because I could be wrong. I'm going to go off of the research that I found and I'm going to mention whatever it is that I found in the articles that I read. But it just so happens, coincidentally, to be all of the things that I already do in my company. And that made me feel better. It didn't make me feel like, oh, look at me, I got a perfect company. No, it made me feel like, okay, good. I'm on the right track. I do the right things. I did stumble a lot. Of course I did. Everybody stumbles when they're building their business. There are some things that you do when you're trying to figure out. I said, I'm in beta mode. You're going to get some criticism sometimes, and you're going to try to figure out how to fix these things, and then you make it better. What's the saying? If you're not growing, you're dying. So, if you have to continue to grow, or else, things start to dry up. Good people won't want to work for you. Good clients aren't going to want to come to you. It's all about, what you're going to get, what you give.
Yeah, I think just test it, figure it out. There's a lot of proven techniques. I think some of the stuff we talked about are proven, but you figure out how you want to adapt it for your company. I mean, just to really quickly go over what you were saying, it was in my I'm a little bit less nicer than you are, I think, when it comes to like the employee-employer relationship, right? Huh? What'd you say?
I said, we know.
Yeah, I am a lot. And that's the thing is like, it's not that I don't want them to feel special and I don't want to be nice to them. And I am. I think I'm more of, they will flourish as long as they understand, kind of what the structure looks like. And beyond that, I mean, if you hire the right people, they typically figure it out themselves within a structure you give them. And so, yeah, I think I would do it probably just a little bit differently. And
just fine.
Again, I think that goes back to us saying that it's really just down to your preference at the end of the day, because what you need engaged employees. You can't have disengaged employees. And it's even worse when they're remote. So you just can't do that. And you got to put in some effort and thought, and you have to actively do things to keep them engaged. You have to actively plan this out of how it's going to work. So absolutely. I think, maybe at the end of the day, that would be the message we could agree upon is you need to do something. You can't do nothing and feel like your people are going to organically go figure this out. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It is not.
It's very strategic.
Yes, absolutely. It's not a magic pill.
Engage employees.
Yeah. I truly believe you will always get what you give. I feel like that about life, but you will always get what you give, good or bad. So anyway, how else could we maybe give these people an idea of what we're talking about? I know a famous example. In each episode, we like to connect a famous example to our discussion to help you relate our talking points on a more global or well-recognized scale, revealing the dots between the living room startup and the success story on the cover of Forbes. Sometimes we use exact examples of either famous persons or successful business owners of today or in history. And sometimes we use examples of people who inspire us and have inspired today's discussion.
Okay, so my famous example is somebody I've used before in the past, and I don't remember exactly which episode, but it was really appropriate for this one because she basically started one of the first fully work remote all women company in the 60s. So I'm talking about Dame Stephanie Shirley, who essentially was the founder of Freelance Programmers, which was later like renamed to a whole bunch of different things because she, got purchased and all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But she basically founded it in 1962 in the UK. And to give you an idea of the size, in 1962, when she founded it, by the time it was 1980s, like the late 1980s, their annual revenue was about 70 million pounds. Right. So just, this is not a small company by any means. And like I said, one of the reasons why her company was so prominent, especially in that time, is the fact that one, she insisted, and at least in the early years, instead of hiring all women and all the women work remote. Mm-hmm. So pre-internet, guys, think about it. Mm-hmm. So it was actually all home-based, right? Because, of course, a lot of these women are also working mothers. And so with everything home-based, what they did is they relied on telephones and the post. So mail, essentially, to be able to communicate, which is crazy when you think about it, right? We have all this communication technology in our fingertips and we still have problems communicating. And this woman and her, 100, 300 women employees were communicating by telephone and you miss mail. Mm-hmm. Right? And back then, telephone wasn't cheap.
No, right? You paid by the minute.
Yeah, so you pay by the minute, and then like installation was a couple $100, like equivalent to today. Like it wasn't a cheap endeavor, but basically everybody had to get telephones installed in their house in order to work with the company. And she did that because she understood the need for job flexibility, especially for working mothers, because they all had childcare responsibilities. It was the 60s. I mean, hey, it is what it is back then, right? And so she did all this already. And her people basically got assignments and what they need to do by mail. They completed a coding, which again, this is way back in the day. So coding could be done on a pencil and, the punch things, right? And then they would send
typewriters.
Yeah. No. Like the little punch cards for coding, like programming.
The punch cards. Gotcha.
Yeah. I know what typewriter is. Thank you.
I wasn't sure. You're like, the punch thing.
The punch thing. Okay.
Got you.
And then they would send it back by post in order to, be fed into the gigantic computers. And then if they did have meetings, which they did, she would actually host it at her house or rented some kind of space. Novel idea. What do you know?
I wouldn't mind going back to that. I really wouldn't.
Yeah, and to address the fact you were talking about creating a sense of community, what she did was she did just an annual company gathering where she got everybody in and they did team building. Again, not we're not reinventing the wheel here. It worked for her in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. It'll definitely work for us
for sure
at this time. So I feel like it's a little bit of, if this lovely woman could do it in the 60s, 70s, I feel like this is like almost like pigeon mail at this point, right? Like if they could figure this out and grow a multi-million-dollar company with a fully remote workforce pre-internet, I think we can do it too.
Perhaps. Well, I tell you,
post-pandemic,
it was not easy to find a company that is product-based and remote. I really wanted to talk about successful businesses that were not at their core an internet company. So, I was finding a lot of great stuff like on Zapier and about Zapier and Amazon and like all these other companies, but I wanted something meatier. So in my research, I, of course, was attracted to the history of remote work, and I would be remiss to not share that with you today. I found an awesome article on crossover.com, and I don't think I could say it better than them, so I will be quoting this portion of this article and sharing the link in the show notes. So before the days of Skype and Zoom calls, a NASA engineer by the name of Jack Niles laid the foundation for modern remote working when he coined the term telecommuting. This was in 1973. Long before modern remote working came into play at the turn of the millennium, limited numbers of workers at IBM were working from home to test the effectiveness of telecommuting. What started as a team of 5 rose to 2,000 by 1983, and call center staff who conducted all their work via the phone had the option of doing so from home. What may have seemed a fad when it first came about is now the norm. According to a Gartner survey, 74% of businesses are planning on shifting their employees to remote positions as part of their post-COVID plans. Telecommuting has seen a boom of 115% in the last decade and will continue to rise as well as we all adjust to the new reality of a post-pandemic world. It is the future of remote work. With the development of the first website in 1999 and the emergence of garage startups, a new age of business was born, and it belonged to the entrepreneur. Initially typified by struggling college students and those who had left the corporate world in search of more freedom, success, and personal fulfillment, startups pioneered a new way of working. Fueled by shoestring budgets and a lot of determination, entrepreneurs worked from box rooms, sheds, and garages until they found investors willing to back them. And we all know the boom of the tech boom, that this is connected to that. So even then, many chose to create businesses that were flexible, allowing themselves and their workers to continue as they began, working from wherever. Remote work meant less travel, which translated to fewer vehicles on the road, less pollution, and a lot of support from the green movement. By 2000, guidelines were necessary, and the Department of Transportation and Related Agencies Appropriations Act legitimized remote work and made it mandatory for companies to have telecommuting policies. In 2010, just a year before I started my company, the Telework Enhancement Act furthered this by allowing the government greater flexibility when it came to managing remote workforces through telework. The Industrial Revolution gave us factory workers, and eventually the much maligned cubicle swamps that typified work for most of the 20th century. The technological revolution, with its Wi-Fi, Zoom calls, and superior methods for asynchronous communication, is going to give us so much more. And another fun fact. I named my company Versatel, Versa for versatile, and Tel for telecommunications, because at that time, between 2010 and 11, people defined telecommunication and telework as remote work. I find 13 years later, most people don't even know what that word means. It's really fun when I'm like, for telecommunications, and they're like, what? Is that a word?
Showing your age. Showing
really what, does show my age.
The generation you're coming from there.
Yes.
There's
a saying that goes, put your money where your mouth is. And we're drilling down a bit further here to connect what we've discussed at a granular level to tangible sources you can take to get you to that next level.
Well, I kind of dug around. I always find that when it comes to people, there's not too much tangible source besides, be aware and try a few things and be thoughtful about it. I hate to say it, right? Because I feel like in the past, I've definitely recommended books and things like that about like what to, your workforce and your work culture. And, but yeah, I couldn't find anything that I really grasped onto for this, except for the fact that, you just got to do it. I hate to say it. It's people, right? It's a people to people thing. You just have to do it. You got to be able to still have that people to people connection, even if it is remote. And thankfully these days we have video, so we can at least see each other. Before, in those early days you were talking about, there was no video, right? It's the best thing you had was basically a telephone call. There was no FaceTime. There's none of that. So,
and many of your choices were either working in a call center, being a virtual assistant, or medical billing.
Yeah. Honestly, silver lining, if there is one, of the whole pandemic is the world proved to the world you can work remotely and it's not going to shut down. Like it's not going to come to a grinding halt.
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness, because I was waving that flag way before the pandemic and everybody, didn't care. But we were in accounting, so, we're conservative and archaic by nature of the industry.
Well, we were ahead of the curve.
That is the plus way of thinking about it. It shows you how much how I feel about my industry. But
I think some people can have fun.
Yes.
Can have fun. Anyway, in order to successfully run and manage a remote company or a hybrid company, even you have to have the right tools and platforms. I personally am a huge fan of Google Workspace and Google products. I do recognize that a lot of people are not.
What do you mean?
Microsoft 360.
Microsoft on this end. What was that? What was the old commercial they had? It was like a Mac versus PC kind of deal. Yeah, totally. Google. Yep. Microsoft.
PC, Mac.
Yeah.
Over there.
Slack sitting back there somewhere. Yes.
Okay,
but no, regardless, you're absolutely right.
Exist.
You have to invest in those kind of tools. Yeah. You cannot get around it.
I mean, it's basically like a virtual office.
Yeah.
It creates like a virtual office for you. There's a lot of plugins, Microsoft 365. I mean, if you really wanted to use it, I guess you could, but Google Workspace. Find a CRM that you feel connects best to your line of work or your industry. I'm a huge fan of HubSpot, but I feel like they're an all-in-one. But if that's outside of your budget, because they are kind of expensive, I also really like Notion. Connect that to Canva, Process Street, Zapier, and you can get pretty close to what HubSpot offers for a much lower cost. A lot of people do like Slack. We use Google Chat, so just find the products that work best for you. Also, there are some great escape rooms you can find online. There's trivia nights. You can also hire someone to do a cooking class or candle making or, whatever there is. There's so many great companies that were born from the lockdown. I can't even name them all. Like literally just Google online games or online entertainment or remote, whatever. And you will find so many different options. There's just a ton.
But it's worth the time. I mean, I get it. It's time. It's money invested, right? Because obviously where your employees are participating in this, they're not working. And that's the whole point. They're not supposed to be working.
Right.
But there is a lot of value to this that may not be directly quantifiable, but there is a quality to it.
Well, I think that a lot of companies that are, maybe they're not remote whatsoever. A lot of companies will do, company outings or, do a picnic for family picnic or something special for their higher ups or, whatever it may be. You would do it if your company was in a brick and mortar 100% of the time too. You need to do it when your company's remote.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is it's a little more challenging when it's remote, right? So like if you have people in different cities, could you necessarily afford to fly all of them in for an annual outing? No. Probably not. Right. But like Sevana was alluding to, there's a lot of services online that allows you to have kind of a group event while on a Zoom call, right? Maybe they ship lunch or dinner to all of you at the same time and you can kind of, have a Christmas dinner together or things like that. Like there's a lot of those things now, but they're absolutely worth it, right? They're worth the money investment. They're worth the time investment because,
I think they're great.
I've retention and employee happiness all kind of comes back to it. All come back to you at some point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I did our last one, it was so successful, and people just can't wait to do the next one. So hey, I know it worked for me.
My finance and accounting brain's going off. I guess what I'm thinking is, make sure you budget for it.
Oh yeah. Well, I guess to be honest, it's not that expensive because I bought. I paid for 2 of them. They're pre-recorded. They're like kind of like Clue.
Yeah.
Where it's not an escape room or anything. You kind of have to figure out like who did it.
Yeah.
Whatever. And each one was $50. So they're really not that expensive. You can find some that are very, very affordable. Sometimes, like especially if you've got a very small group.
So how long did it take them to do the activity?
It's an hour. It's an hour long.
And you did this every quarter?
Yes, every quarter.
Okay, you did that.
And then there's also ones that cost like $15 a person. The most expensive I've seen is $30 a person. So you can just know how many people you've got, look into it and see what you could absolutely budget for it.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that it's not as expensive as you would think it would be.
Well,
it's probably the cost of taking everybody out, less than the cost of taking everybody out to dinner.
Right. And you're talking about if you don't take everybody out for an annual gathering.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So I guess what I'm saying in my head, I'm thinking, remotely or whatnot, right? The low end, there is a low end budget and there's a high end budget.
Yeah.
You want everybody to come together. Depends on what you can afford, what you can do. What I find is most people, when they start thinking about hiring people, they completely don't think about this type of cost.
Oh, yeah.
And in this day and age, it's almost like a necessity. Right. Like before you can kind of get away without it. I guess everybody can show up in the office and you just don't have to do anything but once a year. But if you have a remote base, like there's also the unseen cost, right? There's the cost of your HR person sitting around thinking about this and how to do it. There's the facilitation. There's the hard cost. There's all your employees not doing work for an hour to go do this, right? There is some cost to it. Just don't undervalue that. And then not be willing to spend for it.
Absolutely. But when you think about it, you're exchanging one cost for another. You're not
relative, right?
Yeah. You're not paying for the rent of a space anymore.
That's right.
Or you're not paying for, whatever it may be that you're not paying for. Rent is probably the biggest thing that I could think of. But yes, you're exchanging one cost for another. But definitely
we used to have a line that's called employee morale. That's budgeted line. This is the money that's going to go back into doing all these events. But a lot of times, like I said, people hire and they think about save. And it's don't undercut this one.
Yep, I agree. All right, so please join us next episode for where we will discuss. Wow, that did not come out straight. I'm going to try that out again.
Like I said, we're not editing this. So
no. This is like my 5th cup of coffee, so maybe I'll just put that away.
Did you just skip over to the next sentence? In the future? Where are you?
I don't know where I am.
I can't.
Please join us for our next episode where we will discuss. There we go. TikTok tax tip truths.
Oh, this one's going to be fun.
This is going to be so much
We are going to myth bust. All those lovely short TikTok videos everybody wants to go learn new things about. Okay, how many times I've had people, I learned everything I need to know. I'm learning so much about business and taxes and finance on TikTok, which, look, mind you, that's cool. At least you're learning something. And it is, but there's a lot of misinformation out there. Oh my God, so much misinformation or half-truths.
Half-truths.
Right? Because how much can you fit in? A couple, minutes for short or
I feel like if you're going to say it, you got to say all of it.
Because it's misleading. It's misleading for other people listening who has none of the context and background, and they probably end up hearing something completely different.
Oh, and they've become so popular that the last few new clients that we've brought in have brought these things up to us, and I'm like, well, I can't give you tax advice, but I would really appreciate it if you wouldn't. Please
reference TikTok. Cite TikTok as your reference point. So it's not if it's on the internet, it must be true. Right now, it's if it's on. Well, I guess TikTok's on there, but if it's on TikTok, it has to be true.
Must be.
Oh my gosh.
No,
people.
My friend. So what we're going to do is we are going to have. We're going to talk about what's real and what's not when it comes to tax tipping influencers. This is a lot of words.
Tax tipping. Yes. Say that 3 times fast. Yeah,
right? Well, TikTok tax tip truths.
TikTok.
Our
tax tipping truths.
Correct.
TikTok tax tipping.
Yep. We will have a guest, Phil Gaudiano of Polygon Advisory, will be joining us, and really excited because Phil's awesome, and the information in his brain's real awesome, and so
looking forward to putting him on the hot seat. Sorry, Phil, I haven't officially met you yet, but hey, let's put him on the hot seat. Let's start throwing some of this TikTok, facts at him. So they can just knock it out and be like,
it'll be TikTok tennis.
Great.
Anyway, please show us your support by following us on your preferred podcast platform, social media, and YouTube. We'd love for you to also share our episodes. All of our links are posted below. Until next time, mind the business behind your business, because all great successes start small.